Cheers. We're
Cheers.
a bottle down.
Yeah, before we used to do half a bottle
Did
an
you just
episode. Now we're doing
shotgun
like.
that thing?
Well, I only had a little bit left because of the.
Sake, man.
Dude, that's just how I am. Go big or go home, right?
All right, college frat boy. Yeah, bro, I just like shotgunning the sake. I don't like to actually experience the taste. I just want to get drunk.
I've never shotgunned a beer before.
Have you really?
No, I can't do it.
That's such an experience that it's really easy. It's not hard, actually.
No, I understand that, but yeah, the only impressive thing that I've done is my friends filled up like a blender thing full of like a liter of beer, and I just drank that in one sitting. That's the best I've done.
That was like one of the coolest things. Like I felt like such a badass when I got out of the Marines. Like everyone treated me with such respect, and it's like when I went into college, you know, I joined a fraternity, and
being a frat boy.
Yeah, and so I had this persona as like, you know, all the other frat guys were like 18, 19, 20, and I started college at 23.
Yeah.
You know, because I did the military first. And so, like, I got into these house parties, and these guys are just like, yeah, man, like, look at these mixed drinks. I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to swear, but I'll swear. Fuck that. I was like, give me this beer can, and I whipped out my pocket knife, and it's like, and I just started.
And just shotgunning.
That earned the respect.
Yeah. I mean, in college, dude, you know, everyone's like a drunken mess. There.
Yeah,
I remember one time I went to a frat party and I needed to bring some beer, so I brought some beer that was actually really good German beer, and it was like a 12-pack. They're like, "What is this? I want the 48-pack of the really cheap beer." Yeah. And so I had to go out and get the really cheap beer.
Dude, it's such a waste of money giving college kids good beer.
Yeah.
Because no one even knows what good beer tastes like. They're not going to experience a taste. They're just like, I want to get drunk as fast as possible. Yeah. Does this beer do that
cheapest way
for
possible?
Me?
Yeah. So, but today we're not talking about beer and how to get drunk. What are we talking about? Can you put it into words?
We are talking about the title of this episode, that America is super fake and Japan is actually the real society. I don't know if
it's
that
actually
really fits.
more honest, I would say.
More honest. So there's I actually really like this topic because I think that we're actually kind of going against the grain a little bit by making that statement, because I think a common thing that foreigners will say when they come into Japan is that Japanese society's kind of fake.
I mean, that's what I felt too.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like there's this concept of like omotenashi, right? Where it's like, I'm going to be nice to you, even if I, like you were saying earlier, even if I don't like you, because I know that that's what I should do.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of people coming here are just like, okay, well, you know, you're super fake. You're just wearing a mask this whole time. You know, back in America or back in Europe or wherever you're from, like, people say their opinions, even if it upsets people.
Yeah.
That's something I think that's really common to hear. And so you came up with this episode, or the topic for this episode, and said that that's actually not the case. So I'm kind of here to, I want to hear your experience. Yeah,
so, you know, when I first came to Japan, I really felt like everyone in Japan was so fake. Because you know, in Japan you have the concepts of tatemae and honne, right? So you're tatemae with everyone, you're honne with your really good friends, right? Yes. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a Japanese concept. You know, people are super polite. You know, in Massachusetts we're known as massholes, Massachusetts assholes, because we're so rude to each other all the time. We don't give a crap, right?
Yeah.
But and so like when I first came to Japan, I was always wondering, what is this person really thinking? Hey, I know what this person is saying, the words that they're saying, and I know they probably feel this way.
Yeah.
Their words don't match up with how they're really feeling, how they're fake.
Yeah.
You know? And for a long time I was like, I just want someone to be honest with me. And it was almost like, I felt almost lonely because I'm like, no one was like, I never felt like anyone was honest with me. It was always this like tatemae, this like cold politeness of, hey, so nice to meet you. It's not really, but so nice to meet you, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, man, you know, in America people are real, but in Japan people are so fake. But what I've come to realize, and you know, it's funny, my dad, I really felt this when my dad came and visited me. So, you know, my son's going to kindergarten now, Yochien, right? And
that's so crazy.
Yeah, I know he's going to kindergarten now.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And so the bus comes by.
Yeah.
And the person greets everyone We go up one by one to give them our children, and then they greet us. They say bye-bye. They close the door, and then they leave.
Yep.
And my dad said, they talk at you, not to you, right? Don't they? And what he meant by that was like, in the United States, when you're dealing with like a service worker, they'll look you in the eye.
Yep.
And maybe they will interact with you as a human being.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Japan, they don't look you in the eye. They just say the words that they're supposed to say.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they're actually talking to an individual person. They're given like a scattered announcement to whoever is there to listen.
Yeah.
And then they deal with that. And when I first moved here, I felt like that was really fake. Like, I want some more human interaction in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized is that, that kind of interaction really makes society go smoother. And so like in my personal experience, I'm not Japanese. Please, if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. But I feel
scathe him. Just be ruthless to him.
Just unsubscribe and say go to hell, Arthur. Sorry, I've been drinking too much.
Yeah, be nice to Austin.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this.
Austin is much nicer than me. But yeah, so in they do that because things just run so much smooth. Like if you take your emotions out of that and you really just don't care, you just kind of put up this front, you put up this nice facade. Things just go by smoother, and everyone knows everyone is putting up this facade.
Yeah.
And so they don't really care.
Yeah.
But like in the States, I realize people put up the facade anyways, but they try to trick you into thinking it's not a facade.
Yeah.
And so that's actually fake.
Yeah. No, I do agree. So like we'll take your situation of like picking up kids.
Yeah. Like
with daycare, and it's like let's say the bus opens the door and like the kindergarten teacher comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And in Japan, I agree that like there's that term of like talking at you,
mm-hmm.
but not
talking
to you.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in the U.S., if you took that same situation, maybe the kindergarten teacher comes out and there's like, "Oh, good morning, Arthur.
It's so nice to see you.
How are you doing, Lewis?" Like, there's a lot more personal interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's kind of what you said, where it's just like they might address you and engage in small conversation, like, "Oh yeah, how's your family going?"
Yeah.
And like ask these personal questions, but they probably don't actually really care what the response to those questions are.
They just want their reviews to be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like it's like serving at a restaurant in the United States. All the like servers will be nice to you and like schmooze with you.
Yeah.
But that's just because they want a bigger tip.
Yeah. And I think there's specifically engaging with personal information of a person. Just be like, we were strolling up and, I saw through the window and I saw like your kitchen table and I just want to say that looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say like compliments like that or they'll use your first name in the US. They'll do those small things. And I say they, I mean like just people in general. But there's no really like intent or desire to like really engage with that information. It's just like there is like just kind of like a service.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I never really thought about that until you kind of like brought up the topic while we were thinking of an episode for this, and it's 100% right though.
Yeah, like one of the things that also really hit me.
Yeah.
Is I remember this was a couple years ago. Like I was using my phone.
Yeah.
And my sister was like next to me, I guess. She was looking at the screen on my phone or something. And she just looked at me like, "You have an app for McDonald's?" Right? Because, okay, so, I mean, I have one too. You have one too, right? I mean, so here's the thing that's important, right? So
I often use this app.
Yeah.
Often. On a weekly basis.
Yeah, I can tell, man.
Love McDonald's.
I can tell.
I love it. So it's a guilty pleasure of mine.
But okay, so because that was another thing that was really surprising when I came to Japan is just how normal of a place McDonald's is.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the States, what do people think of McDonald's?
Oh, it's like you're gonna die if you eat it.
Yeah, it's unhealthy. Only poor people eat there.
Yeah.
Why would you eat there? It's unhealthy food.
Yeah.
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 And it's funny. Like I remember also being really shocked when I came here, and I would go to like the omiyage section.
Yeah.
And I remember I would see like advertisements for cookies. They're like, we put extra rich butter in here with extra sugar and extra salt and made it extra delicious, right? Because, in the States, people will see that as, oh, this food is unhealthy. I should stay away from this. Like, this is not a healthy food. I cannot eat this. Whereas in Japan, it's like, hey, it tastes good. Let's eat it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a perfect example of that is like the diet soda section.
Yeah.
Like when you're going up to a drink machine in a fast food restaurant in the US.
States? Yeah.
And you don't really see diet soda here.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it. It's because diet soda sucks.
Yeah.
It tastes terrible.
Yeah.
It's like all the good parts of soda is the sugar.
Yeah.
That's what makes it taste good.
Yeah.
And when you remove that, it's horrible to drink. Like, I have never had a diet soda drink that I tasted and was like, yeah, this is better than the original.
Yeah.
No, it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
So like, but I think that perfectly embodies that, where it's just like, let's use McDonald's as an example, because I think it's really easy to compare the two, because McDonald's in Japan and McDonald's in America are very different.
I mean, the food is very similar.
It's the same, but like just every other experience that you go to in the restaurant is completely different. McDonald's in Japan, I think kind of fits what you were saying. It doesn't try to be healthy. It's like, look, this is junk food.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and just advertise junk food.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good for you, but like, look at this teriyaki chicken burger. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like you go to McDonald's in America and it's like, oh, look at our like 50-calorie salad drink that we have, and
salad drink.
Look at the diet soda in our we have so much diet soda in our soda machine. Oh, ignore the fact that it has aspartame in it and it causes cancer. It doesn't have sugar.
Yeah.
It's healthy-ish. And it's like you'll Burger King, another example with the what was it, the unknowable burger?
No, the Impossible
Burger, right? There's like this veggie burger like introduced, and Burger King came up with it, but like a couple of their fast food places have invented it, and it's like this. They're trying to shove this idea that like it's you can eat healthy fast food.
Yeah,
which is like the Impossible Burger still like 500 calories.
Yeah,
it's garbage. It's probably worse for you than a regular cheeseburger, right? But it's like, you go to Japan and you never see that here.
Yeah, because people know what it is, right? And they accept it.
So you know it's terrible for you.
So you eat it in moderation, Yeah, like, so one thing, especially, so going back to the States this time, I remember my mom wanted me to pick up some eggs for her at the supermarket.
Yeah.
Right? And she wanted a specific kind of eggs. And I know why she wants those eggs. Because on the eggs it says cage-free, hormone-free, cruelty-free.
Yes.
And they have this story about all the chickens and stuff on the inside.
Oh man,
right?
I'm from Seattle, man. It's like this is my bread and butter.
Right, exactly. It's like you can't just have regular eggs. You need to have these nice eggs. Whereas really, like, what cage-free really means is they're in a cage, but the door is open, but it's too small for them to normally get out.
Yeah.
So they don't go out, but it's there anyways,
Yeah.
And it's like all this marketing on these products is done to kind of try to fool you into thinking that it's good.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example was, we can even go back, because I think organic food is like this low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
We're going to ignore that.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the 90s.
Okay.
I love going back to the 90s. It's my favorite era.
90s kid.
So we're going to go back to the 90s, the day of non-fat foods.
Oh, yes.
Non-fat.
Yeah.
So for those of you who have been living under a rock, turns out fat is actually a very important part of your diet and is not the reason why you are overweight.
Yeah.
It has almost nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Sugar is the actual reason, right? People who eat a lot of sugar are generally obese, right? That is a proven fact that has been recently discovered probably about in the last 10 to 15 years, right? But there was this huge push in the 90s for non-fat foods. And I think it was like, whatever. I don't want to get into the politics of this. But basically the idea was like fat was bad.
Yeah.
So all of this fat stuff was removed. And there was this huge fad in the U.S. where it's like people were eating non-fat foods, like milk, for example.
Take all the fat out of the milk.
Yeah. So I grew up on 2% milk.
I did 1%. And what does 2% mean?
2%... I don't even know.
2%.
It's like 2% fat, right?
Yeah, 2% means 2% of the original fat of the milk.
Yeah, so basically all of the good part of the milk is gone.
Yeah.
And I grew up hating milk. Yeah. I hated milk. I like the only time I would ever have milk is for cereal.
Yeah.
And so basically it was a vehicle to deliver cereal to my mouth.
Yeah, right.
Because it tasted better than water.
Yeah.
And so I hated milk. I would never have a glass of milk. I despised milk. And then I moved to Japan.
Yeah. And it's
I
whole
drank
milk.
Japan doesn't have 2% milk.
Yeah.
It's just milk.
Yeah.
Right? And so like I drank the milk here and I'm like, oh, milk's actually good.
It tastes good.
It's what the hell?
Yeah.
Why is Japanese milk so good?
Yeah.
And then it clicked that I was drinking 2% milk, and
you're
all the
fake milk.
all the flavor of the milk was gone.
Yeah.
I was basically drinking white water at that point. And so it's like this idea that like there's all these things of like there's always like this fad of like this is good, this is bad.
Yeah.
And if I'm eating the accepted good food, that means I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if it's actually good. It's just like societally accepted as good.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny. Like, so speaking about that, right? So I remember in college, I started eating vegan cookies.
I'm sure they tasted like shit too.
No, they tasted really good.
Really?
Because they had 500 calories per cookie.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because of all the sugar they put into it.
Yeah.
And that actually caused me to have like a minor sugar addiction. You know? Like I was getting withdrawals for not having those cookies, you know?
I'm sure.
It was really bad. But it's funny because it's like, oh, maybe it's really bad for you, but hey, this is the right decision because it's vegan.
Yeah.
And, you know, I see this too, you know, like so back in like 2010, 2011, I really got into tea because there was a tea shop outside of Harvard University. I really like the Harvard area, not because of the university. There's a lot of cool shops in the Harvard area.
Yeah.
And there was a tea shop there that had 90 types of tea. And at that time, I thought that was super cool because I thought there were 5 types of tea. But this place had 90 types of tea. So I was really interested in like trying all the different types of tea and stuff. Yeah. But then when I would go on online forums or I would like talk to people who are interested in tea, all they cared about is which tea is a healthy tea. Which tea is going to help me lose weight. Which tea is the right tea to drink. And you know, another thing that I thought was really interesting is, you know, in America, people refer to meats as protein. Now, like so we went to this this farm that has a restaurant attached to it. That's kind of like a lot of vegan options, kind of like woo-woo stuff out there. But like they had a section which said like choose your protein. Do you want chicken, beef, or tofu, or fish? And I'm like, that's not like protein. That's like meat. You know, it's different, but it's like people will see the food for its nutritional value, and if you don't choose the food based on its nutritional value, and if it's not the correct nutritional value, then you're a bad person for not choosing that. You know?
Yeah. No, it's this idea where you choose what is like good for you, and not necessarily actually good for you, but what society deems as good for you.
Yeah.
Versus like what you want.
Yeah.
And I think like if you I think it's really easy to talk about foods, but I think it kind of extends outside of foods.
Yeah.
But basically it's like here in Japan, one thing that I think they do really well here is people are allowed to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's like there's this huge stereotype of how like I think a very common saying that you'll hear from foreigners when they go to Japan is Japanese people are robots.
Yeah, right.
Right? You hear that so
I thought
often.
that too. Yeah.
You're like, wow, it's like, you know, even I remember you commenting that your dad said this statement during like I think you guys were in the train station.
Yeah.
How like everyone's like synchronized.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh wow, Japanese people are so robotic. But when you live here and when you kind of get a little bit past like the stereotype impressions and we kind of like deep dive into things, you'll learn that like people go eat yakiniku. People will go, go binge drink.
Yeah.
You know, people don't get upset if you smoke in public. You know, people don't like smoking, and if they're not smokers, they don't like being around smokers. But like, no one's gonna go confront somebody for smoking and be like, "You need to stop right now."
Yeah.
You know.
Whereas in the States, people are like, around smokers all the time.
And so it's like this idea here in Japan that's like, look, you know, we're not going to tell you what's good for you, okay? If you want to do that, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like here, you know, there's this huge separation of like, hey, you know, whatever you do in your personal life, as long as it's not illegal, go for it. Who gives a crap? No one cares. Yeah. But when you're dealing with the public, keep this facade. But then when you're in your private, you know, do whatever you want. Whereas in the States, it's like your public face has to match your private face, and if it doesn't match your private face,
it's really
then you're going to get
crucified.
That is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you know, the funny thing is like, you know, I wanted something real in Japan. I felt like I wanted people to act real with me. But what I didn't realize was that the way that people were interacting with me in the States was just a facade, but they were trying to trick me into thinking it was not a facade. Whereas here, it's very clearly a facade. It's like, hey, you know, I have my own private life. I'm definitely not going to show you. Yeah. But hey, who cares about that? We're just focusing on this plane that we're interacting with. Yeah. And that makes things go really smooth. So like, technically it is fake, but everyone knows it's fake, and everyone's being fake with each other, so it's not fake because you guys are not like lying to each other about that, you know?
Yeah, it's like way more accepted. I think a perfect example is like Twitter, with like celebrities. Yeah. And like every now and then, you know, Twitter's kind of collapsed, and I think it's like X now.
It's X now, yeah.
What the fuck is even going on with that? Yeah. Anyways, so like
Elon Musk happened to that. That's what happened.
Yeah. But celebrities every now and then will have a slip up where they'll say like their own opinion on something, and it'll greatly upset everybody. Yeah. Where it's like, you know, they say an opinion like, yeah, actually I don't like the color orange. I think blue is better. Yeah. And then people will just be like, well, that's not the image that I had of you, so you're obviously an evil person, and I hope you die. Yeah. You know? That right there, I think just captures American culture. Yeah. And like there.
And it's not just that. It's like people are almost like on a holy crusade to make sure that everyone is in line with what is kosher. You know.
You know, like cancel culture.
Cancel culture,
is like a perfect example of that. Yeah. You know, it's just crazy. That it like I really expected Japan to be this place where it's like I had such a binary belief of Japan when I moved here, and even when I was a high school student. It's like you're either in the circle or you're out of the circle. Yeah. And you see this talked about. I remember there was a lot of like jet YouTubers that I watched before I moved over here. Like once I got initiated in the jet program, I really wanted to know what it was really like, and so I watched these jet YouTubers, and they would talk about this like inner circle of Japan, and it's not unique to them. I think it's something that a lot of people talk about, but it's like this circle of Japan or Japanese society of like, especially for foreigners, is like you will never enter the circle. Yeah. And so when I moved over here, I came in with that mentality of like, you'll never enter the circle, you'll never be Japanese, and after living here, that is bullshit. Yeah. That is complete bullshit. It's such a lie. Yeah. You know, this idea that foreigners can't enter in here, it's like, no. Yeah. I came over here, first of all, when I first moved over here, I experienced the facade. Yeah, right. Everyone was super nice. Everyone was like, wow, Austin, you're so good at your job. Wow, you taught this. Yeah. Wow, you can use chopsticks. This is great. And it's like, that's the first wave that you experience when you first moved here. And then you experience like, after you're here for probably, I would say like 2 years. Yeah. Right? The first year is like that. And then you enter your second year here and you kind of dig a little bit deeper and people get used to you here. And then so they start showing their like kind of true selves around you. But you know, that facade never leaves. Yeah. Right? You learn over time that it's like, okay, there's a public version of someone and there's a private version of somebody.
And it's not a bad thing that those two things are separate. You know, whereas in the States it's like those need to be the same person. Yeah. But why? Yeah. They can be separate.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like this idea that you can't breach the inner circle here, or you can't enter Japanese society is like completely wrong.
So the only way that you cannot like get into that is if you demand that everyone has that one face. If you don't appreciate the fact that there are like two versions, then you're not going to make it, right?
Yeah. So once you understand that, it's like you make it, like you'll experience like this kind of like standoffishness or this facade, and then you make friends with somebody and it's like, oh yeah, I like to go hiking. Is that something you like to do? Yeah, okay. You go and then you experience and you become friends with somebody and they just talk to you like a normal person.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's something that really shocked me when I moved over here, because like I was really afraid when I first moved here, and I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm just gonna get ostracized as a foreigner here, and people are gonna kind of baby me and they're not gonna accept me. And then I got in right away and was like drinking with people, and I had teachers giving criticism on my classes, and I had people being like, I would use the term brutally honest with me, right? Where they would say something even if they knew that it was going to offend me. And I was really shocked to experience that in Japan. And it, like, sorry, I'm pausing.
No, it's fine.
But it kind of dawned on me over time that once you look past that initial layer, then you understand that there's a separation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, why is it that, in the United States that I included, have this gravitation towards, people need to be the same person in public as in private. Why do I need to categorize foods as healthy or as unhealthy? Why do I need to categorize things as good or bad,
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to this like deeper insecurity that a lot of American people feel. And it's funny, my dad, because he does a lot of work in Germany too, and when he talks with German people who deal with Americans, and he said like for a lot of those German people, they say that like American people have this kind of like existential angst where they're always kind of nervous a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say necessarily nervous, but I think that something that I would categorize as deeply American is having an enemy.
Having an enemy, okay.
Like there needs to always be like a target or something to blame or some kind of like existential threat.
Yeah.
That I think is like a really important part of American identity.
Okay.
And it kind of makes sense given America's history, because like we've out of the total number of years, and it's gone up because we've left Afghanistan, but prior to leaving Afghanistan, America has technically been at peace for 25 years of its history.
Yeah, right. Out of like how many years now?
I think it's like 250-ish years.
Yeah, right. 250 years. Only 25 years.
Yeah, out of that history, America's always been like at war or in engagement with another.
Right, and like 40, 50 years of that was, with Russia and the Cold War.
Yeah, right? And so I think there's this idea of like there needs to be an enemy or a target or something, right? And I think like it's embedded itself in American culture where there needs to be an enemy in all parts of life. Like even when going back to food, like fat.
Yeah.
The reason why you're fat, it's not because of your lifestyle choices, it's because you're eating fat.
Yeah, right.
It's like it's never in America, it's never put on the individual. Like the reason for their problems is never put on the individual. It's always like this outside force. It's like, oh, you're doing the best you can. It's this thing that is attacking.
I mean, I totally agree with you on that side. So like another thing, so as you're talking, this made me think about this, but so I have a couple of friends who are multimillionaires. They're former clients of mine when I was doing a translation company.
Look at you.
Look at me, I'm super cool.
Look at my nice little company right here that's like, I'm just casually teaching millionaires how to speak English.
That I dissolved because it didn't make any money. But no, so there were a couple of like millionaire clients whenever they came to Japan. And so this one guy, he lives in a penthouse in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Shows you like how much money he has, right?
Okay.
Multi-millions. So I remember it was my job to like wine and dine him and show him around Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
So I took him to Nakano, and I took him to Nakano back 10 years ago, and he loved it. Then 4 or 5 years later, I took him to Nakano again, and it was like on a weekday, so it was less bustling. And he was like, this place, like, let's go someplace more poppin'. Like, there's got to be a place more poppin' than this because there weren't so many people. And his sister was there, his mom was there. He wanted to impress them.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to Golden Guy in Shinjuku, right? Because Golden Guy's poppin'. There's lots of people there.
Yeah.
And I remember we went into a bar. He's like, Arthur, is this place cool? Is this a cool place? Is this place cool? Like, dude, only you can decide this because is this what you like? Yeah, but Arthur, is this place cool? Like, is this where the cool people hang out?
Yeah.
I was just like, I think this is a good place. I don't know. And then I remember, so like another one of my clients, he had a girlfriend with him.
Yeah.
And she was like a typical like plastic surgeryed up, like beautiful real estate agent.
She's that
person.
LA girl.
LA girl, yeah, basically. I'm in real estate. So they really want to go to Hakone, but they reserved Hakone like right before a long weekend, and there was no places open except for like places that were $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
And even he wasn't willing to go up to that much. So I took them to like Yugawara, which is right next to Hakone, and that's like where the local people go.
Take them to Atami.
I mean,
Atami's probably just as bad as Hakone, actually.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. but so I took him to there.
Yeah. And
she's like, so is this Hakone? Because my friend said Hakone's the best. Is this Hakone? I was like, no, it's Yugawara. I took you guys to Yugawara. Yeah, but where's Hakone? I want to go to Hakone because Hakone is the best. People say Hakone is the best, you know?
Yeah.
And it was almost like these people were not concerned about what they actually liked.
Yeah.
But about what people said was the best, and they had to match up to this image of what they thought was the best. So it's almost like, you know, they didn't care about what the real thing was. They just cared about the image of what they thought they should like.
Yeah, I think that is a really good really summary of that, because I think Hakone is actually a really good example of this. Hakone is super boring if you don't like being in Hakone.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just going because somebody told you to go to Hakone, you're not going to have a good time. There's nothing to do there.
Yeah, right.
It is a small town in the mountains, and if you aren't like an onsen enthusiast, you're going to go there and be like, there's nothing to do here.
Yeah.
They got like the Little Prince Museum, which again, if you're not a big Little Prince fan, you're going to go there and it's going to be super boring.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Little Prince fan. It's my favorite children's book.
Great.
I think my mom read it to me when I was a little kid, and I got obsessed with it. And I recommend it to all my students now. Yeah. But like, if you don't like the specific things there, you're going to go there and you're just going to have a shit weekend.
Yeah.
Right? So it really frustrates me when I hear these stories of like, oh, I went to Hakone because that's what people told me to go.
Yeah. It's not like whether you actually like it or not.
Yeah.
But it goes into the same thing. It's like, I need to act this way to project this image of how people think I should be. I need to eat this food because if I don't eat this food, then I'm a bad person, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think something that I often see, and if you go to America, you will see this everywhere.
Yeah.
Is tabloids.
Tabloids, yeah.
Right? You'll go to the supermarket, you'll go to the convenience at the gas station or wherever. I mean, anywhere you go, you will see tabloids. And it'll be like, how I lost 50 pounds, or, you know, the new diet, or, you know, whatever celebrity likes this, so you need to like this too. And you'll see this on social media too, where it's just like there's all these fads that people have to follow. And it's really kind of funny because Japan's very similar in the sense that
there are fads.
There's like, yeah, there are fads, but there's like the popular thing to do. Like a perfect example of here in Japan with high schoolers. So I teach at an international school now, but I used to be at a girls' school. So most of my experience is with girls, so I'll talk about girls. I don't really know guys very well. But girls, like a popular thing to do, right, in Japan is use eye tape.
Eye tape, okay.
Do you know about that?
Yeah, right, to make their eyes look puffier and cuter.
Yeah, so the idea is double eyelids.
Yeah. That too, yeah.
Double eyelids are considered attractive.
Yeah.
In Asian culture, which is really odd because Asians typically don't have double eyelids.
Well, yeah, white people do.
So yeah, it's this weird. Anyways, I don't want to get into that. But so high school girls will typically take eye tape and put them in like on top of their eyes to imitate double eyelids, right? And so that's the fad to do.
Yeah. Right?
But does that actually make them more attractive? It's like it's kind of a subjective thing, but it's just like such a ridiculous statement that you're so unsatisfied with your body that you're taking tape and putting your eyelids, like attaching your eyelids together. But so it's not like Japan doesn't actually have these things, but everyone still knows it's fake here.
Yeah.
You know, like no one's going and taking their eyelids and being like, yes, I'm beautiful now.
It's like girls putting in like super crazy fake like eye contacts that change the color of your eyes to like purple or something.
Yeah.
Or like having those nails that are obviously fake.
Everyone knows it's bullshit.
Yeah, everyone knows it's fake. But it looks nice, so why not do it? Whereas in the States, you have to try to force it to make it look natural.
Yeah.
You know? Like the key is in America is like how much can you fake it so that people think that's actually you? Whereas in Japan it's like everyone knows it's not you, so just go with it.
A big thing that I think kind of connects with that is plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big taboo to like mention that you got plastic surgery in the US.
Yeah, right.
Right? Especially boob jobs.
Yeah, right.
Right? It's like I'm talking about women mostly because I think women tend to get plastic surgery more than men.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like with the boob jobs, like I think or nose jobs.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get plastic surgery to a point where people don't know you've gotten plastic surgery.
Yeah, I didn't get a nose job. This is natural.
No, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas in Japan, it's like I think people are a little bit more upfront. It's not like someone's gonna come up to be like, "Yeah, I got a boob job."
Yeah.
But it's not like that information will be completely hidden.
Yeah, right.
You know what I
it's
mean?
not like they're trying to fool you. It's like it all goes to part of the facade. Like I made this facade.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the facade.
You'll see the girl that got the boob job. She'll usually have like orange skin.
Yeah.
Like long hair and like nails that are like this long.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? That's like,
yeah, and I mean. Yeah, it just goes back to the fact that like it's a fake facade.
Yeah.
But everyone knows it's fake, so it's not really fake because everyone knows it's fake, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in the States, it's like they try not to seem fake, but they are fake.
Mm-hmm.
And so America's more fake than Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We're almost done with this bottle too, man. We're like running through these things.
Cranking them out.
I'll see you next time.
Yep.